Welcome in, y'all. My name is Ryan McGough, the bodybuilding businessman and entrepreneur, and glad to be here, grateful to be here. This is episode 2 of Becoming, the podcast created for changing, adapting, growing, advancing, filling up your space, growing to new space. I think a lot of times in this era, we just see so much going on in everybody else's lives, and everybody gets to put this image of, I'm doing so great, I have it all under control, right? And so it's very hard to take the time to look into ourselves, see where we're not there, where we're not fully adapted and fully successful, because we just think constantly we should be at this greater place, at this better place. But it always is totally us against ourselves. It is never us against somebody else. It's never judging ourselves by them, and I fall victim to this all the time. Like, I tell you my story, man. Like, I truly came from a negative 1,000, really. I had no skills in this world. I had only adapted and grown, lying, cheating, stealing, manipulation, deception, right? I had only grown these things that did not matter anything at all in life whatsoever. I had focused on the wrong attributes, the wrong skills, right? I had focused on the complete wrong thing, and I had grown them. So what happened is, when I realized I needed to change my life, realized I needed a power greater than myself, realized I had no answers left, right? It was a beautiful thing that happened, because there was nothing of me that I really needed to carry on this journey to becoming the person that I am today. And really, it would be a disservice if I even kept any of those attributes or skills to the next level, right? Because truly all they were was envy, all these negative things that we can read about and that we know of ourselves. Envy, jealousy, right? I always got that like twitch in my eye when I would hear somebody was doing really good. I wasn't happy for them for being awesome or great. I wasn't grateful for them for their accomplishments, so I was mad at them for being better than me, and I hated them for it, so I get it when I do good and start to grow in life, and I get that people hate me because of it. I understand. I was that person, right? But I think that's because we just easier to do that than to actually take a look at ourselves and try to see where we're failing, right? If we're not at where we want to be in life, we're not on a plan to get there, if we're not on a path to get there, then we have to ask ourselves, what is standing in our way? I'm an investor, right? A bodybuilder, an investor, a businessman. The one thing about investments, man, is that they are totally about how to put in something and get a return out of it, right? So it's constantly about, do the choices that I'm making on a regular basis give me the return that I want, or are they a waste of my time, right? Partying, man, I do not party. I do not drink. I do not drug under any circumstances, right? Because to get to be the person that I wanted to be, 9-10 years ago almost, I had to let go of everything that I was doing that was stopping me from getting to become that person, right? And so that is a very unfortunate and tough truth that people don't want to take a look at in their own life. I have kids, responsibilities, but I'm going to go out 4 times a week, drink on the, Super Bowl not Super Bowl, the football games every weekend. And then so it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we have parties and drink, and right. So then my kids get, Tuesday, Wednesday, right. So, it's funny, but it's just like, the accumulation of all these actions and all these choices that people are making is just really, it's a tough generation. It's a tough time, right? We get all this instantaneous things given to us, right, without work. And then we're told, oh, you got to work your way up to the top. You got to sacrifice. And we don't want to do that. But if we go out for the top, we have no skills and attributes to get us there. So our foundation below us is just crumbles under the weight of all of these things that we have no idea how to do, right? And not to mention all of the indicators and the overdrive of sensory options and opportunities, right? And it's so hard to be intentional about something because there's all of these little confusing paths and things to do and try this, and the opportunity overload, the sensory overload is so big. It's huge. It's out of control. So my, becoming my path to who I am today, which is, a real estate investor doing flips in the single family space, a owner of a telecom company that is switching from just doing subcontracting work to now general contracting work in the low voltage space and the government space, right? And a dad at the same time, and a husband at the same time, and a bodybuilder at the same time, right? And all of those things take so many choices, so many decisions. They can have so much time. If I choose not to sacrifice things and be disciplined on those paths, they can overload me with sensory. They can overload me with choices, overload me with decisions that I need to make, and it can get very stressful. So part of my growth from that negative 1,000 when I was, a partying, couch surfing, crime committing, person hurting, hurt person myself, right? To even just becoming normal, right? On whatever that means to anybody, or becoming not on a path to get in trouble or go to jail or all of that kind of stuff, right? To go away from that, to just be neutral, living life at peace, right? That was such a far gap to overcome, and realize there were so many things wrong with my attitude, wrong with the way I perceive things, right? Wrong with the way I choose to act, wrong with the way I choose to think. So I had to look at my thinking, my attitudes, my actions, man. And that in itself, and get it down on paper and start really looking at who I am and what kind of person I am, right, by the accumulation of all of my decisions and choices in life, right, since I was a kid, since I was young. Because to truly know how I got here in this moment, I have to go back to when it started, when I made a choice to hurt that person, when I made a choice to pick up that drink, when I made a choice to pick up that harder drug, when I made a choice to, whatever, all of the stuff that happens. Hurt somebody, truly, really hurt them bad, to a point where, I got in trouble for it, to all of that, man, all of the choices, all of the decisions. I took this one, I took that one, and it got me here. And then look at the person that I was, and the moods and the attitudes and all of it, the shortcomings, the defects of character, right, that we call them, all of those things that cause me to act in that way. And really look at those main core things: selfishness, dishonesty, right? Those are two of the biggest one. Hurt, fear, resentments, right? Holding on to the pain of the things that I've done to other people and the things they've done to me, and continuing to punish myself for those things that happened. Not to say that it was okay, or not to say that it was okay that I did that to them or they did that to me, but to be okay with myself now, right, in this moment where I'm not in that moment. It's not here, right? So to hold on to that and continue harming and hurting myself over it is just insanity, right? There's nothing that I can do now except maybe go be a better person to somebody else. But if I hold that hate to myself, if I hold that resentment towards myself for the things that I did, I'm not going to go help somebody else. So this cycle continues. I hate myself. I'm mad at myself for the things that I did. So I keep hurting people, and then I keep staying mad about those. And so all of it is just these cycles, is these patterns, is these thoughts that continue to come up, and we treat them the same way. And the one big thing about that is from Michael Singer's like Living Untethered, or The Untethered Soul. It is so wild to see what I just talked about and why I say I was at negative 1,000, right? I built all these, he calls them, I call them blockages, but I think he calls them samskas or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, and I probably should never use that word again unless I know I'm right. But they're the patterns within ourselves that either lead us to say, when we walk up to this situation here, we're thinking of our past situation that just happened to us years, months ago, right? Oh, I'm in the car and I imagined that, oh, when I did this person broke up with me. So now I'm mad because thinking about this relates to, butterflies, and thinking about this relates to rattlesnakes. So this is good and this is bad. And we're just so built up of all of these past blockages and all of these things that reverberate all of these choices that happen through all of our previous makeup of all of these blockages that are within us, which is so wild to think about because it is so true. And I sit there, and sometimes a real estate deal will be falling apart or whatever happens. I got to raise some more money, and I have like a week left, and it's always possible. It's always possible until like they're like, dude, you can't keep extending. Like it's over. Like you have to sign the release. Like it's always possible up until that moment. And not to say like we're holding off for things, but usually there's a reason why we're doing this deal, and we usually have money involved in. But long story short, I start to get that feeling of when I've lost a deal, or I haven't come through for a customer or a realtor that brought me the deal, right? And it's not that I'm not working on it. It's that something outside of my control happens at the very last minute. An investor pulls out, and there's nothing I can do. I did everything that I could. There was things that happened. Now, it goes through my blockages. It hits these things, these points that I've created within myself, right? And it hits all of them, right? And so that's the hardest part about really changing truly, is have so many more blockages and patterns that are incorrect. And remember, when I started, I told you I was that person who was very much full of blockages, full of problems, full of discomfort, full of anxiety, fear, all of these things. So I had a million blockages, and all of my decisions that I made were poor decisions that led to someone getting hurt, maybe myself, or someone getting in trouble, right? Even myself too. And I made them because of hurt and pain and ego and all of these things. So when you live your life on that, like a dog or like a monster or something, right? Like then all of these choices that are made out of that pain and misery, they end up being bad choices, problematic, for everybody involved. So all of the decisions that I made and choices that I made were in that light, were in that negative context, right? So all of it reverberated blockages and problems. And so all of my decisions then, when I stopped partying, drinking, living like that, choosing to be happy, choosing to let go, right? Starting to try to live a spiritual life, a God-centered life, a life of abundance instead of competition, right? All of these things that I started trying to do, I just had to take baby steps. I just had to put everything else aside and just really focus on, don't drink today, and be a good person, and pray, and, read, and all that stuff, right? So all of these things that I would start to do in that light would grow me just a little bit at a time. But I couldn't look at somebody who's a $1 billion real estate investor and all of the sudden just think I was going to become that person right away. So the biggest thing with becoming is we have to all start in our own space. We have to start right where we are today in this moment, who we want to be, who's just one little 10% growth from where we are now. Just a small step forward in the right direction, and just be really intentional with getting that. So maybe it's putting down the drink, maybe it's not partying, as much, maybe it's stopping being so angry, stopping feeling sorry for ourselves because of our situation in life, and we're taking it out on our wife and our kids and walking around angry, right? Maybe it's just that little thing and saying, you know what, not today. I'm in control of my choices. I'm in control of my life. I'm going to make the better choice today. I'm not going to feel hurt and walk around. I'm going to take some breaths. I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to read that book. I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to start, right? And so it's just starting today to becoming who we want to be, one step at a time, but being truthful to ourselves about what's blocking us from getting there, and also being truthful to ourselves on what we need to do to become that person, and not just looking at the top and striving for that right now. Keep that vision of later, but do now in this moment what we can control and what we can do, and put everything else aside. So that is Becoming episode 2. I'm Ryan McGough, the real estate investing, bodybuilding. I'm Ryan McGough, the bodybuilding businessman and real estate investor. If you like that, please like, subscribe, share on wherever you listen to podcasts. Please leave a comment. Please get engaged. I'd love to hear from you guys, talk with you guys. Check out my my channel on YouTube at The Real Estate Investor. And connect with me. I put my links on YouTube everywhere too. So I love to hear what you guys are doing. You guys investing in real estate, want to learn more from my real estate investing channel. You guys are doing businesses and buying businesses and that kind of thing. Let's talk about that. But let's stay engaged, keep our network strong. I love to hear from you guys, and tell somebody else this week about my podcast, about episode 2, Becoming with Ryan McGough. All right, y'all. Thanks. Hey.